Welcome to the Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. As the nation's first community college, JJC has played a key role in shaping America's higher education system. Our rich and beautiful history reaches more than a century into the past, forever connecting generations of alumni. I'm Jen Davis, Annual Giving and Alumni Relations Manager, and I will be your host. In each episode, we'll sit down with different alumni to uncover their most cherished memories, hear their inspiring tales, and get their hard-earned wisdom for future wolves. So, if you're ready, let's dive into the roots of our rich history and branch out into the stories that define us on this episode of the Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 2. Today's guests are two fantastic alumni who were former teachers and have since made their way back to JJC. They each hold unique roles here at the college that intertwine so well with each other. But before we get into that, let me introduce them. So first, we have Caitlin Lee, our Planetarium Outreach Coordinator in our Natural Sciences Department.
Hi, Jen. Thanks so much for having us featured on episode 2 of the Alumni Podcast.
I love it. Your background can't be more awesome, just having you in the planetarium.
Isn't it pretty stellar?
Yeah, it's pretty stellar. I love it. Christine Veverka, our Foundation and Stewardship Assistant here in the JJC Foundation.
Hey, Jen. Thanks so much for wanting me to be a part of this, especially with Caitlin.
Yeah, the two of you together is an episode that I had planned for a really long time. And so I'm just so appreciative that the two of you could join us on this episode. So before I get into all the fabulous things that the two of you are doing here at JJC, I want to rewind the clock like I always do. And let's first talk about how the two of you got to JJC as students. Now, Christine, I know you came fresh out of high school, right?
I did. In the late 1900s, isn't that what the kids are saying now? Yeah, I graduated from high school in the mid-'80s, and at the time, my dad had been diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, and I wanted to stay home with him, but he wanted me to go away to school and experience that life because he had had that 4-year institution opportunity. And at the end of the day, I chose JJC knowing that I could be home, be with my family, and take classes. Those prereqs are a lot more affordable when we do it at our local junior college. And it was absolutely the right choice for me before I made my way to Eastern Illinois University.
Amazing. Keelan, you'd similar reasons for coming to JJC?
Oh, absolutely. So I was a full-time student 2015 to 2017, and I was actually 23 when I started my college journey. So that's considered late to some standards, and there are no standards here. So I was 23 when I started college, and there was no other option. There was no question that I was going to go to Joliet Junior College. And I mean, it brought us right back. So we knew it was the right decision from the start. And
yeah.
From there, I transferred to another Joliet university, the University of St. Francis, and graduated the year of 2020.
Amazing. Well, it's kind of interesting to have the two of you on this podcast together today because the two of you are actually considered alumni under some of our new guidelines for many, many years. Even at the start of the Alumni Association here at JJC, it was always considered that you were a JJC alum if you graduated with a certificate or degree. And when I started in this role a couple of years ago, I just felt like because we're such a huge transfer school, we were just missing so many people who were here for multiple years and took 30 or more credit hours and spent so much of their time here, but weren't actually falling under that criteria. So we've since got it approved and changed. And the two of you, because you were here for that longevity as transfer students, that you are considered JJC alumni. And I'm so happy that we were able to get that change because it just grows our alumni population so much and just reinvigorates that connection for people. So, all right. So back to your time here as students. Do you have any favorite memories? Caitlin, I know that you had so much to say in your Roots and Branches video piece that you did about some of the things that happened here when you were a student.
Well, I really enjoyed my time on campus. I felt like $1 million walking in here every day. So I did enjoy our nature trails. I did a lot of my schoolwork, my study time outside, and that helped me to gain focus. I really enjoyed my involvement with the honors program too. So every Sunday night, I'd be at home baking muffins and some sweet treats for our Monday bake sales to fundraise, money with the honors program. And we took some trips every now and then too. I'm the biggest Lord of the Rings fan you'll ever know. And and we went to see the live symphony orchestra at Ravinia with the honors program. That was a blast. And, some of my favorite classes were the bio classes or biology here on campus. One memory I'll never forget is wandering the nature trails and collecting pond water and plant life and observing it under a microscope to see a totally different world of creatures that exist in the microscopic universe. And it was really neat.
Man, you just really sell JJC.
There's so much. I love it.
Christine, your time, anything that you remember that still stands out when you were a student?
I could never get the hang of playing the card game euchre. There was a lot of that going on, and I just couldn't get the hang of it. But that's okay. I can't be great at everything. My time here, like I said, was when my father was ill, and I also nannied in the morning and then worked at a store in the evening. So I didn't do as many outdoorsy things as Caitlin did, but I made a lot of friends that I'm still in touch with today, decades later. And I think what's been really cool is being a part of the foundation now is that some of my former professors are people that I get to communicate with and support and interact with. I know I was probably not always a stellar student.
I don't believe it.
Unlike Caitlin, and also probably behaved like a real jerk in some classes. So I haven't pointed that out to those teachers. But it makes my heart happy to know that at one point I was in a temporary classroom where I now park my car.
Yeah, that's crazy how much campus has grown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so the two of you, you had these great experiences here and you were able to transfer all of that to your four-year schools. You both chose to go on. Caitlin, you went to St. Francis and stayed local, and Christine went off to Eastern. And you both were in the teaching field for a while, right? Out of college?
Well, I didn't right away. My 20s were a time where I can reflectively say now, just trying to figure out life. I worked at a law firm. I worked at a title insurance company. I waitressed, and I had a lot of fun. But being able to get into the classroom was something that I always knew was going to happen. I knew at the age of 7 or 8 that I wanted to grow up and be as fabulous as my second grade teacher.
Aw.
And so when I got hired later on in my 20s. It was pretty fantastic and enjoy all of the elements of what I dreamed would happen. I did one stint for 7 years, stayed home with my daughter for a couple of years, and then went back. And as I was teaching locally, one of the field trips that we did was to come to JJC. And we did the planetarium. And we did the schoolhouse. And I have pictures still that I remember of the kiddos that were in my group that were taken in front of the schoolhouse.
Well, I mean, if you lived in the district of JJC anytime in the last 3 decades and you were in K through 12 school, odds are you came here for a field trip, whether it was to the Cronin one-room schoolhouse or to the planetarium. And I think, Caitlin, you had mentioned that when the job was posted for the role that you're in right now, like you started thinking back to those times, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it creates such an unforgettable experience. So many kids come here and they have that impression of wow, and it sticks with you for life. And we get people come into our shows pretty consistently and they remember being here in second grade, or they walk in and it's a moment of deja vu, like, I've been here,
Yeah.
It's got this like sense of history, this sense of belonging, this sense of this is like a pretty pivotal part of the community. So it's
Absolutely
really amazing to offer that experience to every new generation of students. And they're going to keep coming and we're going to keep welcoming them back.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun.
Now, Christine, you have done field trips with the Cronin schoolhouse for a couple of years in your role here with the foundation. And so I know you know a little bit of this history. Give us just a little piece about the Cronin schoolhouse as she checks notes.
Oh, gosh. It was constructed in 1863 on a farm approximately 5 miles from here. And at one point, it was one of over 90 to 100,000 of one-room schoolhouses that existed in the country. To date, there's only about 200 of those remaining. And wonderfully, we have one of them here on campus. In 2013, it was recognized as a local landmark.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, it's a pretty cool little spot. It reminds me of the old Fisher-Price one-room schoolhouse that, I mean, many of us may have played with when we were younger.
Nice.
And I wore that thing out, especially the bell on top. Yeah, it's a beautiful opportunity for kids who don't have, I guess you could say, are not exposed to
that kind of history.
that
Yeah.
kind of history. Some of them I realized had never written on a chalkboard. Some of them had
Oh.
never touched the keys of a piano, and we have a piano in the schoolhouse, and
Oh.
sitting at their little one-room schoolhouse desks. And so to give them that opportunity to immerse themselves in that space, and we play a lot of like, think about this, and we do a lot of compare and contrast of past to present. They get to smell the old books. They get to write on a chalkboard.
It's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
Love
see
the old books.
big, huge, potbelly stove, and it's pretty great. It's really a beautiful opportunity to then combine the past with the future, and personally, my past with
Yeah.
what's going on here on campus today.
Well, Christine, I'm going to brag on you for a minute with the schoolhouse and everything that, you do when you take those kids out there. Obviously, your love and passion for teaching just comes out so much, but you just understand the history so well. And we have this beautiful schoolhouse like on our property and all the ways that we can engage students and future wolves out there. And you bring such a special piece. And I know at the Future Wolves Camp that we had here this summer, I saw just these wonderful video clips of you and working with the students. And you're a great addition to that piece. They're lucky to get to have you to guide them in that space.
She's the best. The absolute best. Yeah.
Yes, she is. And Caitlin, you definitely have a reason to say that about Christine, because when you were hired with the Planetarium, she sort of helped pass the torch of some of that field trip stuff to you, right? Kind of mentored you a little bit.
She did. She was probably the first one to take me under her wing and provided a lot of guidance, and it helped so much. I knew I was taking on this big role. I had big goals for the role, and seeing the way that she had organized the field trips and gave me the freedom to continue that and to grow the program. So I've called her my go-to gal from day one. And even early on, when I would run into any sort of obstacle, I'm calling Christine. And, it's also provided as like an inspiration as well. So I'm really grateful for your presence here on campus. And you're still my go-to gal.
Oh, gosh. No, thank you. But I have to brag on you, Caitlin. When we met, I still remember, down in the cafeteria, and we were talking, I remember thinking, wow, she's enthusiastic, but it wasn't this frenetic enthusiasm. It was so pure who you are about your love for astronomy, for the planetarium, for the opportunities that you wanted to create. And just so you know, there's many of us that say you are definitely one of the best hires.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's the best compliment ever. Oh, I love it. I'm so grateful. So grateful.
No, you are. You can't fake your passion. I mean, down to the way that you even all of your space attire and the words you weave into your speech, like stellar and, like you're shooting for the stars. You're so invested in the planetarium. And let's talk a little bit about that history. So for those who don't know, our planetarium, the doors opened 1973, but it wasn't until 1988 that it actually became the Herbert Trackman Planetarium, thanks to Herbert Trackman, who was a JJC alum and, donated funds to sort of make this happen. So the foundation, the JJC Foundation, has really been woven into the history of the planetarium since the beginning. So Caitlin, take us a little bit through like how it's evolved and where you picked it up when you started in this role.
Oh, absolutely. So with over 50 years of being an icon in the community, it's come with challenges. I mean, think about the technological advancements that have happened in those 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
And that's been a challenge to maintain planetarium equipment, to maintain the science that is changing, to reflect accurate data. So the planetarium's gone through a lot of changes. So when I finally adopted this program in 2022, I just saw the opportunity. And, there were a lot of unknowns. This was new for me. I could be as passionate about it. There's still a lot to learn. And we relaunched it with a huge, huge success. Oftentimes our public shows, which are twice a week, oftentimes we have a completely packed house. The feedback that we receive from the community has been outstanding. And so that helps to know that we're doing something right and we're going to maintain that momentum. So the planetarium is still going through changes. We've added some pretty excellent new programs that cater to other disciplines as well beyond astronomy. So that's a lot of fun. And we're going to keep changing. Yeah, we're going to keep shooting for the stars and we're going to keep aiming higher and to both hold on to the rich history of the planetarium, but also move forward to what the future holds.
That's exactly what you're doing. It has been something new. Every time I look on the planetarium webpage, you have a new show, you have a new idea. And what some people might not realize is our planetarium has been free for almost its whole existence. I mean, this is a free, fantastic resource for the community. But the only way to keep it free and to keep getting these advancements in technology and the things that you need to keep it running smoothly is that, it needs funding. That's where a lot of donations from alumni have come into play. That's where donations from the community have come into play. And then also you've been on the receiving end of some money that is for our Awards for Innovation and Excellence. That is a grant that's specifically through the JJC Foundation. I'm going to let Christine talk a little bit about that grant now and just kind of explain what that is through the foundation.
Thanks, Jen. It's an application process wherein the JJC Foundation offers $50,000 for innovative and excellent ideas that are put into place and sustainable for the betterment of the students, the classrooms, the programs that are in place. So there's a lot of opportunities to write their grant and submit it through this application. We have an Awards for Innovation and Excellence committee that is comprised of the JJC Foundation board members. They review it and they drill down and get into this, and they really feel strongly about it. Some years they have not even awarded the full amount. And just in the last handful of years, I want to say they started offering like a big $25,000 one and then like a big mama one. And then there were the smaller grants that were given. However, this past awarding cycle, there was something really fantastic that happened. And I'll let Caitlin expound on that.
Yeah, you got to talk, though, about the vibe in the room. Like when her proposal was presented to that committee.
I want to hear this too.
I want to say there's about anywhere from maybe a dozen to 20 applications each year. And Caitlin's not only stood out because of how visually appealing it was and how professionally it was put together. There was genuinely this yes mentality of what they were reading, because they knew, the foundation is proud of the projects that they have a hand in supporting. And as you said, Caitlin, the Trackman Planetarium has been around for 50 years, and the foundation just celebrated their 50th anniversary. So they've been in existence for almost as long as one another here at JJC. And to be able to continue to fund something that the foundation has already been such a great part of, and for it to be presented in such a fluid, beautiful way as you did, it felt as if it was a no-brainer to make that funding available.
You know, you also getting the funds, it's not like you just are like, oh, I want this to upgrade equipment and do different things, because that's a huge part of it and you want it. But what I loved about you in your Roots and Branches video is that you talked about all the ways that you just want to go beyond astronomy. Like, of course, you're talking to some big astronomy fans right here. You might have a position I wish I had sometimes, but you know how much we love the stars, but there's so much more that the planetarium can do. And I know some of the money that you were funded from this grant is going to some of these other projects. So why don't you talk about some ways you're branching out from astronomy?
Oh, sure. So I definitely wanted to grow on that aspect. We have so much to offer the community, but also there's big potential to go beyond that, like you said. So my goal this year specifically was to collaborate more here on campus. I wanted to use this incredible, neat, fascinating, captivating resource that creates these lasting memories. But for more than just our stargazing friends, we could use this dome to give you an incredible visual education, which most of us are visual learners, right? So it's a fascinating educational resource that can be used for more than astronomy. So one of my favorites was our new anatomy show. Takes you inside the human body. When you see it, it's like, wow. So it's really cool.
That's amazing.
To visualize the complex structures of our own human bodies, from the brain, the muscles, the skeletal, the central nervous system's that's a whole nother universe. So that was one. We've also branched out to marine biology. I had a professor reach out if we have soil biology, which we're going to work on that. And there's so much more as well. The dome can be used as a resource for history.
Yeah. You have a new dinosaur show, right? Couldn't get that out.
Well, I know. Yeah. We have a really cool new dinosaur program, which has been a huge hit.
Yeah.
And that shows us a lot on not human history, but Earth's history. So it's a really, really cool resource that we can use for a lot. The opportunities are endless here in the planetarium. So I want to continue with that and keep bringing in all the students and as many programs as we can reach, because really this is the community planetarium. I'm just a facilitator, but this is your planetarium.
I think you're a little more than a facilitator.
Don't be so humble, my dear.
The comments on social media when students and, kids come for shows, it's been overwhelming. You are clearly the perfect person for this position. You are growing our planetarium in huge ways and getting it to our community for so many different things. So you are more than a facilitator in that space. So the reason I wanted to bring you two together today, and kind of, I guess, the theme of this episode, if you will, is just that we're talking about traditions. JJC is the very first community college, and that may be our claim to fame a lot of times, but there's so much about our campus that's very unique to us. And one of the things is that there's only 8 domes, correct, in the state of Illinois for planetarium, right, Caitlin?
Yeah, research says there are 8 permanent planetariums. A lot of them, the financial upkeep is very challenging. A lot of them they just kind of crumble with history and time. So it's pretty amazing that we can maintain this iconic planetarium for another 50 years and then another century.
Yeah. And Christine, that same work is being used in the Cronin schoolhouse. Like, they're constantly trying to preserve and keep that a special place.
Absolutely. When it was originally brought here, I think in the early 90s, they added new windows, there was new paint, they added AC and heat.
A strong foundation. Yeah.
Yes. Which meant that it could be used year round. The kids get to peek into the storm cellar basement below it And in my time here, within the last 10 years, they brought a corn crib onto the property. So there was another structure that the students could understand how life was back then and what that was used for. So yeah, it's been pretty fantastic to watch it grow.
Well, the two of you are responsible for just upholding these traditions, the tradition of coming to Joliet Junior College in K through 12 and experiencing a field trip here, whether it's with our planetarium or the schoolhouse. There's tons of different athletic field trips and things you can come do. There's so much going on, especially in our new Future Wolves initiative. And the two of you are just playing such a huge role in that. What do you both think is just the most important part about continuing that field trip, tradition?
Like you said, these are future wolves that are entering the campus. And at a young age, we're instilling that interest. We're showing them that this is more than just a community college. I mean, the opportunities are here. The opportunities are endless too. They walk in, they feel welcome. They pass the automotive shop, like, wow. They see a 3D printing lab, a gaming room, our beautiful health and public services building. Maybe they'll meet the campus police dogs. They get engaged and they can see that JJC has a lot to offer for everyone. I mean, we can cater to all these students. And again, that's creating these lasting memories for them. So they'll grow up knowing that Joliet Junior College is here and they belong here. I felt that way as a kid. And here we are on episode 2 of the JJC Alumni Podcast.
Kind of amazing, huh? Yeah. Christine, I know you feel the same way. I mean, the field trips are special to you. You've said before it's one of the favorite pieces of your position. What do you think about it?
At some point in time, I had the opportunity to meet up again with some of my past elementary age students as they came on campus to be students here at JJC. So we would meet for coffee and I would walk them around campus and show them different things that maybe they wouldn't find on their own. And whenever we went past the planetarium or we had a cup of coffee out in the picnic grove by the schoolhouse, they every single time have said to me, oh my gosh, I totally remember when we came back here and we were here for a field trip. I'm like, I know. And now look what you're doing and you're taking that experience. And to watch community members come onto campus and experience something that is so unique to the community. I know Caitlin has had, and I know I've booked some different opportunities for like a 55 and older community, and for them to enjoy the one-room schoolhouse, that maybe there was even more of a connection for them.
Absolutely.
Whatever way. So that's been really great to watch happen and to just be a little cog in the wheel of it all come together.
Yeah. Well, my favorite way usually to wrap up the end of these episodes is to give everybody a chance to share their advice for future wolves. So, I mean, you get to see future wolves at a very early age coming on campus and spending time with them. So you can share from either side of that. But what advice do you have for future wolves? Caitlin, you can go first on this one.
Sure. So I would always encourage any student, but especially our future wolves, to really just pursue your interests. Your career will be fueled by those interests. And there's no timeline. There's no pressure. You belong here. The college is here. We're the first public community college, and we're going to stay here for the future. So definitely pursue those interests. Your potential is there. There's no knowing how your life can change just by taking that first step. Start with the first semester, 4 months of focus, dedication, commitment, and your life will change. So your potential's there. Your opportunities are here. But do something you love. And that's a pretty cliche piece of advice.
No, it's not.
But that's what life's all about. And it could be anything. Absolutely anything, or do something you're really good at and you can offer the community as well. Just pursue those interests and take your time here on campus to explore those options. There's a lot of options, a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, I'm going to add to that, Caitlin, from the perspective of, like I said, when I was in second grade, I knew I wanted to grow up and be a teacher. And I had that beautiful luxury and thoroughly enjoyed the 15 years in the classroom. And then I had my own children who didn't have that tunnel vision. And so I admittedly was kind of lost on how to guide them. And my reaction was always the same: take at least one class in a semester that is outside of what you feel you should be doing. Try something new. Get involved in an organization or in a club that you maybe wouldn't have pegged yourself for trying. But if you have an interest in it, seek it out. Try is the legit attitude that is so important to have. And I'll say it again, to do it in an environment where it is a little bit more affordable to try those things. You know, along with affordability is all the scholarship opportunities that we have through the foundation, giving away over $1 million. That is something that the foundation
just apply.
Really, just try.
Baby
just
steps.
Try. Yeah, it's the truth. The worst thing that can happen is that you'll learn you didn't like it, and you can check that box and move on to something else. So
Excellent advice, both of you. I knew that it was going to be a strong point. You guys always have great advice all the time. And because you have the opportunity to share that with so many future wolves coming on campus, it's just, they pick the right people. They pick the right people. So I do want to say that for anyone listening who really does want to know a little bit more history about the Cronin Schoolhouse, if you would like to visit the Planetarium website to find out, for those that don't know, our free shows are usually happening on Tuesday and Thursday evenings. Caitlin, 6 o'clock usually?
That's right. Yep.
Okay. And so you can go to jjc.edu/planetarium. They're updated every month for all the fantastic free shows that Caitlin mentioned earlier. And then if you visit just our main JJC website and click on our About Me tab, you'll find our places of interest. And in there, you can read the whole history of our schoolhouse and all the other great places, even the nature trails that Caitlin mentioned she spent her time on campus. That page will direct you to all of that. Well, thank you both again for being here today and sharing all of your wonderful wisdom and insight. I knew that I was picking two fantastic people who are helping JJC continue the traditions of field trip and just reaching out to future wolves. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Jen, for having us on episode 2 of the JJC Alumni Podcast. Keep up the good work.
Thanks so much, Jen. This was a ton of fun, and it was an honor to be a part of it.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Roots and Branches JJC Alumni Podcast. For more episodes, information, foundation events, and ways to give or get involved, visit jjc.edu/alumni.